artifacts, monuments, whatever, to reflect the heavens. So as above, so below, which is it's an interesting concept, and it sort of gives a few clues as to the way the minds were working, because if you go way back in history. Now the other thing is, can we go back one? Yeah, this is interesting. I did look at one site where the individual concerned was talking about this type of thing, and he was saying, well, some of the stars, as we look at them now, don't quite line up with that one. So there's a star over here. Let's see how long ago it was that star was under that particular monument. And so he clicked away, and it rolled the years back on the counter. And when he got to the particular point where the star precisely matched the feature on Cydonia, it was 17,000 years ago, which is interesting because it's an awfully long time ago, but it's not the sort of millions and millions of years ago that the sort of conventional teachers of whether it's astroarchaeology or whatever it is, like to sort of bring in these unlikely numbers. I have a problem with some of the numbers in that if you I've got a book, I think it's on the table, called The Cosmic War, and in that the authors trace some of the ancient Sumerian kings, and they had rather unlikely spans of their reigns, like 30,000 years and 40,000 years. I can't help thinking, well, surely they've got 3 noughts knocked in there somewhere. I'm suspicious of that, but you know, it's the sort of thing that you might like to have a look at yourselves and draw your own conclusions, because I'm not really don't really want to sort of say this is this and this is that. All I'm saying is this is the evidence, and what do we think, people? So yeah, we go on to the next one as well. This I thought was worth pointing out, how small we are. The Earth's shown for size in comparison to the Sun, and at this point, having shown, I mean, this is a coronal mass ejection. Look how vast it is. In actual fact, as coronal mass ejections go, that's a small one. I mean, here's a big one. This, you saw our size relative to the Sun. That is the Sun, and that is a coronal mass ejection. And look at the width of it. And that's, where are we? Scale, width, yes. Yes, a 5 million mile solar eruption as Comet Neat. The Comet Neat was an extremely large body. It was planet-sized, and that was in 2003, I think it was. That came round. And if you notice this bushy tail, comets, contrary to what NASA like to try and. In fact, they seem to be giving up saying this now. They've been trying to say that comets are snowballs of matter with rocks and bits and dust and sort of mixed in with them, and that the tail is just the vapor trail behind this lot as they go along. But in fact, what that is, the comet is most definitely rock, and what's going off behind is plasma. It's a, if you like, a blazing ionized trail, because what this shows. If we go on to the next one, which is hypothetical, a lightning strike. Now that has got to be the biggest lightning strike in history. If you think about it. I mean, the thing is that we're about the size of that little dot there. So it puts us in our place a bit, doesn't it? Yeah, next. This is one of my favourite photographs, Noah's Ark. How many of you are familiar with the fossil of Noah's Ark in the foothills of the Ararat Range? Because it's something which a gentleman by the name of Ron Wyatt was spearheading work on this. And what appears to have happened is that Noah's Ark, which was the same dimensions and size as the Canberra liner, and what's there now is 512 feet long, and it would have been about 70 feet wide and about 45 feet high. And what they've been able to identify where it had originally landed higher up the mountain, and there was a volcanic eruption, and a mudslide or pyroclastic flow, more likely to be a mudslide, I think, carried it down the mountain, and it got stuck on a rock there. I mean, it could have gone on down further or down to the valley, but that's where it got stuck, and it rather sort of pulled open one side. But Ron Wyatt found that when he was doing ground penetration radar sounding, this was back in the 1980s, that he mapped out an iron frame, and there was a program about it on BBC Two, as I say, in about 1994, 3, 4, something around about then. And what was shown of this iron frame would have done credit to any modern naval architect. The other thing they found in it was that drilling down to sort of take samples. Of course, the trouble with drilling into something like that, you never know when you might be drilling through a marble statue. But anyway, from the bottom of the thing, what they estimated to be the bottom of the thing, they pulled up metalworking slag, which had a high proportion of titanium in it. I think I'm of the view that what we have on this planet of ours is cyclic catastrophism, and every few thousand years we have some sort of a mega event which puts us all back to the proverbial Stone Age. So if we assume that in that time before the flood that their technologies were fairly advanced, after all, they had an ideal living conditions. I mean, the whole of the planet was according to the Bible, was like living in a greenhouse, and you know, no wind to speak of. It didn't rain. You just had a heavy dew at night, which provided water, and lifespans were exceedingly long. The longest lived man in the Bible was Methuselah at 968 years, I think it is. And Noah was 500 years old. In fact, I'm pulling something back in now, that Noah, according to the Bible, was pure in his generation, or undefiled in his generation. I'll give you the exact words if you like, because that's what I want to just refer to. Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord, even the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God. So that's the point there, that he was perfect. In other words, he didn't have any of the DNA of the giants and the fallen angels. It says it took him 100 years to build it, and I could believe that if it was a concept that had never been done before. If you had to build a ship where there'd be no need to build large ships, you'd have to design all your technology as you went along. So, okay, you build the ship, that might wait. Supposing that took 20 years, having smelted the iron and steel and everything else. In fact, there's a lot of iron rivets on it. And they found that gopher wood refers to not just the tree and so on, but it also refers in Hebrew, because you know there are many, many layers of meaning in Hebrew. Laminated wood, and that's what they found. But the other things that he would have to develop would be propulsion, air handling, lighting, automated systems, because if you're going to carry thousands of animals, you've only got 8 people on the boat. That's him, his wife, and his 3 sons and their wives. And everything would have to be mechanized, because otherwise you never do it with 8 people. And of course, it was a long voyage. It was going to be a year that they had to be prepared for a long voyage. I mean, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, the Bible tells us. And then after that, they floated around, presumably because there was so much mayhem, with probably enormous amounts of debris. The other point is that it's quite likely that in the breaking up of the crust and all